Well, we're not saying that mercy means nothing matters. In fact, it's the exact opposite. Even though it does matter, it matters enough for Jesus to die on the cross, but it's all for mercy, that God will not judge us. And mercy then is the only authentic, is only authentic when it's set in the context of hungering for God's high standards. Mercy is only authentic when you're going for the high standard. It's knowing that they haven't achieved that you still are merciful. Just as God is merciful to you, knowing you haven't achieved his high standard. Some can come up to this point of hungering and thirsting for righteousness and then become very judgmental, not merciful. They might be showing God's righteousness, but they're not showing his mercy, and they're not being like God, because Ephesians 2 verse 4 says God is rich in mercy. Mercy is like grace, as I've just said. It describes the way God freely gives everything to undeserving people and refuses to give them what they truly deserve. In fact, one person put it like this: grace is getting what you don't deserve, God's favor and forgiveness. Whereas mercy is not getting what you do deserve, which is his judgment and condemnation. Grace is linked to people's sin, whereas mercy is associated with the effects of sin in their life. It's when God sees people suffering under the burden of sin that he's moved to have mercy upon them, and his grace operates. Grace is the word for God's response to human sin, and mercy is the word for how God responds to the suffering which comes from sin. Mercy is practical. It's reaching out. To be moved with compassion means you step out in mercy. It's doing something. Jesus told the story of the Good Samaritan, and that is the picture of mercy. Especially if you look at Luke chapter 10, especially verses 36 and 37 in the story. You see it. Who is your neighbor? Who is my neighbor? Who was a neighbor to this Samaritan man? The one who showed him mercy. God's mercy wants to relieve the sufferings, the misery of immorality, pornography, materialism, power, and all the other consequences of greed and of sin and selfishness in our lives.